As I make my presentation, I'm going to put everybody on mute so that background noise doesn't interfere. And then when I'm finished, I will unmute so you can ask any questions. Today we're going to be talking about sales reports. I'd like to welcome everybody to Keystroke Live. We do this the same time every Wednesday, 10 o'clock Mountain Time. It's the same place, same login information. We have different topics every week on Keystroke software. The first Wednesday of each month is hosted by our president, Michael Gebb, which will be in a couple of weeks. We're going to talk about sales reports. Any of you that have had any experience at all with these reports, they're very powerful, they're customizable, there's all kinds of settings on all the different reports. And so, you know, it's important to kind of go through those and try to understand those. And I'm going to try to give you some tips today. It's always important to remember to save the settings for reports, especially ones that you run frequently. That way you don't have to struggle to figure out, okay, what settings did I have the last time, what form did I use, etc. It makes it really easy. And as I said, there's lots of variations. We're going to be covering reports under the Sales menu in Report Manager, and that includes transaction reports, sales tax, salesperson or commission reports, accounts receivable, payments, and customer activity. So let's take a look at Keystroke and take a look at some of the reports that are available here. We're primarily covering the sales menu. You can see all the choices that we have here. And let's just start at the top with sales transactions. This can give you summary or detailed information on a particular transaction type. It's not going to give you reports on all the transactions at once. It's only going to do it on whichever transaction types you have enabled. Most cases you're going to be doing it on sales invoice. The detail area is important. Summary is just going to show you, okay, this date and time I did this transaction for this amount. Detailed is going to show you all the line items, the payments, that sort of thing. I'll give you a kind of give you an idea of what those both look like. There are powerful filters on this report. You can filter on the transaction. For example, you're just looking for a particular customer. Maybe you're looking for something like a particular number or a discount amount or percentage, you know, what transactions, maybe just taxable, all kinds of filters. There's also a line item filter. Maybe you just want to see all transactions where a certain item has been sold and see what other items a customer might purchase at the same time they purchase this item. If you do something on a line item filter, say I'm going to look for line items for stock numbers greater than 0 and line items stock numbers less than 25, something like that. If you do have a line item filter, and this is true in a lot of reports throughout Keystroke, you're going to get, you know, you probably want to check don't print if empty. Remember, that wasn't there before. So you don't want to see transactions that don't have these stock numbers. Then you can include all of the detail items, everything on those transactions that contain these stock numbers, or you can choose not to and it'll just show those stock numbers. But we're going to remove this filter for right now and just show you a general transactions report. You can choose to print comments, and I generally recommend running reports to the screen initially to make sure you're getting what you want. Some reports can be pages and pages, so you want to be very careful to make sure you're getting what you want before you actually print them out. We have several transaction forms available. Looks like Dave created a custom one last week or the week before. We're just going to use the standard sales transactions report and print it to the screen. This is our sample data, so you'd want to see our transactions that are sample data go back into 2013, so that's when I started it. This is a summary. It's going to tell you up at the top, usually in this upper left corner, any filters, a little bit about your settings. And you can see with the summary, when you're running this summary, it's just going to give you a transaction number, date and time, the clerk and the customer and the total amount, and it's going to give you grand totals at the bottom. If I did this same report but chose detail, let's go back to this. If you do detail where you show all the line items, you notice you get another parameter where you can print your line item comments. This first comments are your transaction comments, your second one are your line item comments, so we're going to do that. Same date range. Notice it's a much longer report, and we can take a look. The first line for each transaction is fairly similar to the summary report other than the total amount. It's going to show all your line items, any discount, shipping, sales tax, and what kind of payment was put on it. So this can, it'll give you details on all your transactions without having to go look at every single transaction. So let's go into sales tax reports. In general, if you have a simple sales tax structure, you're going to run the summary detail report. You could run the table district code report if, for example, you have various districts that you might need to report your taxes to. You might need to report to the state, to the county, to the municipality, to the transit district, that sort of thing. Again, you can choose what transaction to run it on. But in most cases, sales tax is not due and payable unless it's a sales invoice. So we're going to run it on sales invoice. We can do it summary or detailed. And of course, don't print if empty is always a good thing to have. Method accrual. You're going to see this in a lot of Keystroke reports. You generally have choices of accrual, weighted cash, or cash. Most businesses run on an accrual basis, but there may be instances where they do weighted cash or cash. That's something you might need to speak with the accountant for the business to get an idea of what needs to be run. Again, there are some different forms. Since we're doing accrual, we're just going to use the regular sales tax form. In summary format, when you print it to the screen, you're going to see just on each day how many transactions you did, and then the totals for each of those transactions. So it's fairly simple. It's going to give you totals down at the bottom of how much sales tax you collected. If you want to go into detail, it's going to give you each and every transaction during the date time range. And it's going to give you more information, as you can see. So On the 1st, you had just one transaction. On the 8th, you had several. So you're going to see more detailed information. The sales tax table district code can be quite complex. So this is something you want to try to figure out early on when you're setting up a new business, how they may want to run or report their sales tax, and help set up a report for them and save it. Down here on the status line, it's always going to give you a reminder when you're on report settings that you can use Shift F10 to save the settings, give it a name, security level if you want, and whether you want this to show up on all registers or just one register. But this one will detail this way just by tax table and everything, all the sales tax. You can choose to do it on the tax district and the tax codes as well. Time of day report, that's a great one just to see if there's a certain time during the day where you get the most traffic. Maybe that will help you with your staffing. Maybe it'll help you maybe decide to do a promotion, do it during less frequented hours to try to get more people in your shop. It's a great little report. Salesperson report helps you get reports based on either the clerk that was logged in at the time when the transaction was done, or the salesperson as assigned on the transaction itself, or you can do it salesperson by line item. We're going to go ahead and do it by salesperson, and you can subtotal it based on commission code if you want. Our commissions in our sample data are pretty basic. You do have to remember, if you want it to calculate commissions, you need to tell it what method. And then the other thing that may be important is don't print if empty. So if during your date time range your clerk didn't work, you're not going to have a line there. But let's take a look at what this does. On this report, you can see most of this is Andy Applegate, but it does go into Betty, who's a manager. But you can see each transaction, each line item that was sold when you're doing it, and you can see how much commission based on your commission formulas this person earned during this date time range. Even if you don't pay commissions, it can give you an idea of, you know, how productive some of your clerks are. Receivables report. This is one, if you do any receivables at all, or basically allowing customers to charge and take items out of the store. This is a report I recommend running at least once a month prior to running statements. It's also a report that you can run to if you notice that the amount due on a customer list box is different than the amount due on a in accounts receivable. This will help alleviate that. Many forms. Aging is the most basic, and you do want to have aging rather than don't print. It'll give you an idea as well when you do aging how far out you have receivables. It'll help you see if you have people that owe you money for more, just in the last 30 days, 30 to 60 days. So let's take a look at this one briefly. We only have a few. Barney's Liquor Store has a finance charge. Of course, since most of our data is in 2013, everything's past due or overdue, but it gives you an idea of how much people owe you and what time periods these are about. Again, I recommend running this at least every month prior to running your statements. The profit report gives you an idea of how your business is doing. Do you have your prices set properly? Are you making the kind of money based on your sales that you think you should? You can summarize it, which will just show daily information, lump all the transactions together. You could also do it detailed and show every transaction during the date range. Let's take a look at that. You can see for each date and then each transaction, the profit dollar amount and the profit percentage during the date range. And then at the bottom, it's going to give you a total of the invoices, a total of your profit and your profit percentage. And of course, every industry is different. They do their sales based on different profit percentages. But this will give you an idea of maybe whether or not you might need to change your pricing structure. The sales payments report is another very common one. It can show you any type of payment that you have taken during a date time range. You can do it specific to just one transaction type, or you can do it for all payments in all of your transaction files. Generally, you're going to want to group by the payment type. If you don't group it, you might see a cash and a check and an on account and then a couple more checks. It's not going to make a whole lot of sense. Detail will show you every single payment and the transaction it's on. Summary is just going to show, okay, I got 55 cash payments for a total of $7,025 or something like that. This report is also one that it can be part of the closeout. So if you see this report in the closeout and something doesn't seem right, you can also run this same payment here. You can check. Don't print if empty if you have some payments you don't use very often and only want to see them if they're during the date range. You can include your ROA payments if you'd like. There is a separate ROA payments report, but you can include them. You can include transfer payments as well. Say you take a deposit on a sales order at the beginning of the month. By the middle of the month, that sales order does become an invoice. They've come in and picked up their items, and you can show the transfer payment. Let's take a look at what this one looks like. Remember, it is detailed. It's showing you during your date range all your cash payments, your check payments, every payment type, and the transaction that it's on. We can sometimes use this one as well to find a payment amount that you're not able to find. We can do a filter on a payment amount. The audit report, I work with this nearly every day. It helps you try to figure out what your clerks have done in Keystroke. Very, very powerful. Can get tedious to go through. You can check whatever parameters you want here. Of course, what it is going to report is dependent on the parameters you've told Keystroke to audit, and that's in Configuration Manager. This you can group by your clerk if you want to, if you just want to look at, say, an individual clerk, and it can give you a lot of information. One thing I recommend with this report makes it a whole lot easier. If you're really looking for something in particular but you're not sure how to filter on it, you can run this report with no filters, everything checked, and print it to a file. The file then you could open in Excel or something like that, and you can search on it. Maybe you're searching for a particular transaction number, something like that. This can help you find this information. Again, this is a very lengthy report. It tells you, everything that's happened, a day, a date, a time. If you go up to the top, it'll show your register number, your clerk number, the module they're in, what the operation is, and what they did. Customer activity. This is a great report if a customer just wants to know, hey, what have I done with you for a while? Rather than printing a statement for a year date range or something like that so a customer can see what they've purchased, you can run a customer activity report for an individual customer if you want. You can run it for all. Most often I see people running it for an individual customer. You can detail what transaction types do you want to see. Any transaction type that's enabled, you can see those on this transaction. So for a single customer, for a date range, you can see all their invoices, their layaways, their orders, everything. You can also group this by contact, which can be very valuable, especially if you're in the service business where you might deal with contractors that have several different jobs going on. You can group it such that they can see the invoices for each of their jobs. You can also show these transactions detailed or summary. I'm not going to run every single report in this list. The ROA payments can show you any payments you've taken to pay something off in accounts receivable. The great thing about this, you can just show credit memos only. Remember, credit memos are payments taken to pay off on-account transactions but have not yet been applied. So this may be something you might run once a day, once a week, so those can be applied. You may not want your clerks applying things, you're just having them take credit memos. Let's do a little review. I know this is quite tedious, but I believe it's something that you really want to get into and save the settings if possible. Lots of reports, lots of different settings. If it is an art, it takes a while to try to understand what your client wants, what kind of reports, but once you get that, you can save the settings. It makes it a whole lot easier as you go along. I'm going to unmute everybody, and does anybody have any questions for me on running various sales reports? Any questions? Well, in summary, thanks for attending. It's great to have everybody here. Excuse me. Remember, same time, same place, every Wednesday. Next week will be Jay Restuccia with inventory reports. That's between the sales reports and inventory reports. Those are the ones people run most often. So hopefully Jay will see you next week. And I hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for attending.